Bid Nerds is your daily YouTube car game show where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Haggerty Marketplace, and more. It's just like the Price is Right game show. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. That's right. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Bid Nerds. It is the live show that is the Price is Right for cars and enthusiasts and people who love cars and watching BAT and watching that guy, my partner, Michael Deeb, in San Francisco. I'm in Las Vegas. My name is John Polnick. Michael Deeb, partner, how's it going?
Limping across the starting line, just like usual. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Well,
totally then we're good then. All right, we got Switcher Gary behind the big buttons. What's up, Switcher Gary?
Good evening. Happy belated Halloween to you guys.
It's we're downtown Las Vegas was hopping last night. It was Tuesday, and it looked like the busiest Saturday you ever saw. There was so many people out and about. It was craziness. We had kids coming to the studio. They were trick-or-treating, and I felt like a total a-hole. Which is not out of any kind of norm, but I didn't know kids were going to be trick-or-treating here, so we didn't have any candy. We were giving them Rami show hats, and the little kid is like, yeah.
It was either that or you're going to start giving them 805 beers and White Claws.
Which their parents probably would have appreciated. But yeah, we had a great time here watching the kids go by in the container park. Good times, and we, whatever, man. It's a holiday. And we're going to move on. You guys are here because why? Because you're into cars and you watch all these. I mean, what is wrong with you? How much time do you spend watching BAT auctions? I want to know. I mean, I wanted people to say in the comments, like, how many auction listings do you actually pay attention to on average on any given week? And do you have a problem? I mean, is it an issue? Because I know it is for me. I know my wife is like, you're not buying that. It's not because she's like, doesn't want me to buy anything or whatever. She's like, what's wrong? Don't you have anything else to? Yes, I have other things to do. But that's why we do this show for the sickos like you who just can't get enough of BAT Cars and Bids, Bring a Trailer, and Haggerty Marketplace, and Mercedes Market. What's the Mercedes one called?
MB Market.
MB Market, which we're going to be covering a car on MB Market tonight. That'll be not a first time. We have covered cars on that platform before, but it's been a while.
A year ago.
Yeah, our friend Chris Carbine.
Yeah, Chris Carbine has become friends with Blakely Leonard, who is the founder, the czar of MB Market. And although we couldn't get him on tonight, we will be covering Chris Carbine's car this evening. And then I think we'll have Blakely on Sunday evening. So stay tuned. We should have the Mr. of MB Market on here to defend his cause and tell everybody why they should be looking at cars and buying their Mercedes Benz on his site, which will be kind of fun. I'm excited to have a founder on,
Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool to see how that goes down. Speaking of people that are awesome, how about you give a shout out to our friends at Godden Classic. Tell everyone all about Godden Classic, Michael Deeb.
Godden Porsche in 2016 became the first Porsche Classic partner in North America. Now, out of over 190 plus Porsche stores alone in the United States, there are only like 12 or 13 Porsche Classic partners, but Godden Porsche was the first. And the reason why they got chosen to be the first is because they have the passion, they have the personnel, the people with the passion and the aptitude to understand everything about your classic Porsche, and they put the money behind it. Let's face it; it's not inexpensive to dedicate a couple of lifts to having classic technicians in your shop when there's more and more Macans and Panameras and Taycans on the road every day. Every Porsche dealership that I've ever heard of would double the size of their service department if they could. But for a Porsche Classic partner to dedicate 2 lifts just to Classic is a big deal. So they've got the technicians, they've got the parts department, and in fact, they inventory a handful of Porsche Classics. So if you're looking to buy or sell a Classic, if you need repairs, or if you're just looking for parts, call Godden Porsche Las Vegas and tell them that the Bid Nerds sent you.
That is right. Those guys are so awesome down there, though. For sure. Seriously, they support us, so we want to give them big support.
They introduced us. They're like the dating site that introduced JP and Deeb, and the rest is history.
That is true. All right. Yeah. Does that mean maybe you shouldn't go there because you might be connected with people that just unsavory characters? Unsavory characters.
Yeah.
They've got a much higher class of folk hanging around there when Michael Deeb and I aren't there. Okay, so let's get to some predictions. What we do on this channel again is we find interesting cars from Cars and Bids, P-Car Market, and all those different platforms, and then we'll have a conversation about specific cars, and then we will make a prediction. It's just like The Price is Right, so play along and see if you can beat the nerds. We got some people in the chat group.
We are packed. Buddha's back. Of course, we got Chris Carbine. We got William Boda. Ross is reaches down there. Anthony wants to know if this whole thing about why do you care how much time we spend on auction sites. This isn't an AA meeting.
I mean, really, is it not? We've got stale beverages. It smells like cigarettes. Michael Deeb is taking a dump over there. I mean, it's like he's all backed up.
Yeah. Randy talked about, like I do with my friends, how he has a text string going on how some of these cars work out. I take this show rather like when Jon Stewart really got into the role of doing the Daily Show, I stopped watching the news. I would just get my summary from the Daily Show, and now I don't go to auction sites as much because I just get the summary of the things I care about here on Bid Nerds.
There you go. Skip the news and watch Bid Nerds. I wish I did
endorsement.
That. Huh?
Thanks, Mental. What an endorsement.
Yeah, gosh, the news will just make you depressed. Watch Bid Nerds, and it'll just make you want to drink and shoot yourself from a whole different reason. Okay, let's get to some cars. We're done jibber jabbing. What is the first car on the list, Michael Deeb?
All right, Mental. The often confused 1994 Porsche 911 RS America that was on BAT, not the red one on P-Car Market that we missed because you were racing and JP was flirting with Doogie Howser. This car was pretty cool because
are you jelly? Are you? Yeah. Is that just like a little? I mean, if we're gonna go there, yes. I interviewed Patrick Long this weekend up in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest. I was asked to do that, not my partner Michael Deeb, for a reason. Okay, moving on. Now that moving on. All right.
Our RS America has 76,000 miles and was on the far side of the world in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Super cool car. But a very poor job of listing the car by BAT. It was never clear to us what options this car had. And then I think somebody said that they had read in the comments that the consignor of the car said that because it's a one-owner car, that he had ordered it solely with the air conditioning. So he put a stereo in it, and it's got no sunroof and no limited slip differential, even though BAT said it had a limited slip differential, and it doesn't. So really kind of an ass job by BAT to have somebody write this thing up and not doing a good job with it at all. The person who wrote up this car clearly doesn't know anything about Porsches, which is bad, very bad. With all that in mind, JP, let's jump right into this car. Oh my God, my computer is just taking a dump. All right, here we go. So without further ado, I was the high bidder at $133,000, where I believed, because of the poor job marketing by BAT, this car would fail to sell. John, you came in at $129,964 and agreed that you thought this car would not sell. And then, what's his name? Mental said $125,000. He was the low man on the totem pole, and I don't think Mental thought it was going to sell either at $125,000. So without further ado, kids, guess what? Our car sold, because we don't know what we're doing, but not by much over my bid. So at $141,000, the lucky winner took this car home on just 17 bids. I would say that BAT probably left, at least 5% on the table by doing a bad ad. I think these photos are shit, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. And I also think that a few months ago, this car would have brought more money. This is probably a $160,000 car a couple months ago. It's probably $145,000, which is what I said before the break. this was a $145,000 car and I didn't think it would get there. Well, it almost got there and it's sold. So the reserve was realistic, or BAT made up the delta for the seller if the reserve might have been a little bit higher than this number. But I do think that, a better ad and better photos would have got this car closer to 150. And I think a few months ago, this car might have brought over $160,000, maybe even 165. I don't know that this car was ever worth much more than that because of the miles, but it's interesting that it's a one-owner car. The only option that's on the car, AC, I think that makes it less desirable. Slick roof is good, but just AC, I don't know, whatever. Cool car, not a stunning or surprising result, but I'm a little bit surprised that it brought as much money as it did. I think that says that RSAs are strong, but I do think this car was worth 20 grand more just a few months ago and brought to market better. So I'll send it back to you, JP. What do you were at below 130. What do you think of this result? Does that make sense? Yeah,
I mean, the buyer, is paying another $5,000 for the buyer's premium on top of this. The thing that makes me wonder is okay, so there's a dealer involved. This car was under consignment, so a dealer was brought in to handle the listing ostensibly, right? So that's the whole reason that the seller didn't want to deal with this. Yet the actual consignor was there in the chat, backing up his claims for what trying to explain the discrepancies from the ad. So you've got the seller involved, you've got a dealership in between, and then you've got BAT shit in the bed by not getting their listing right. This is a rare just shit show from BAT. This is the kind of thing that we absolutely expect on P-Car Market, but it is a surprise here on BAT. But I think it's a testament to BAT and the fact that they flat out have the audience. I mean, if this kind of thing had happened on Cars and Bids, the car wouldn't have gotten anywhere. The day before the end of the auction would have been the last bid. If it were on P-Car Market, it'd probably be stuck in the chum bucket, also known as the deal tank. This car absolutely is worth more money, would probably have made a little bit more money if there weren't the weird discrepancies. But I think the community, and that is the benefit of BAT and all these auctions, is that the community kind of got around, kind of dug through the ad. There were enough people to decipher everything and root everything out, and then kind of clear the owner. Kind of okay, this isn't a bunch of shysters. No one's trying to pull a fast one. They just dropped the ball. And so I think people saw through that. I think as far as hold on a second. I think the number though is just, I think it's just reflective of a bit of a softening in the market, but really it's the time of year, man. Pennsylvania, everyone's putting their cars away. The great roads in Pennsylvania to drive, but you aren't going to be able to drive them until March. Sorry, DB, you're going to hop in there with something.
Well, I thought you brought up a really good point, JP. I think I failed to recognize or remember that this is a dealer consignment. And let's just put a few things in perspective here, as this is a dealer that's representing the car for the guy who actually owns it. One, he took shit photos. That's unacceptable. Two,
who took the photos? Was it the dealer or was it the consignor? I would assume it's the dealer, right?
Well, most guys that represent, most dealers that represent cars, even guys like our friend Naveed, that's not even a dealer, but he'll rep your car and put it on there. Almost everybody I've ever heard of is all charging 10% to put your car online. So let's do the math on this. At $141,000, that means this consignor is reserving himself or is resigning himself to accept $127,000 for this car when you take the 10% off the top. So if the dealer is representing this car and these are the photos that he submitted, that's not worth the money. Yep. The other thing is BAT presents you the copy to approve before the listing goes live. That means the dealer didn't correct BAT for not properly listing which options are on here and which options are not, because as I mentioned before, they said it had limited slip and this car doesn't have limited slip. So they did a shit job, and the dealer did a shit job. I feel terrible for the consignor that he only got $127,000 for this car, and whoever this dealer is, I think they dropped the ball. I think that's terrible at doing your job. HT Classic Cars, I call you out. That's horrible. The photos are ass, and you didn't. I mean, I just briefed. I didn't even read every word on this thing, and I found holes in it immediately. I mean, give me a break. This is a terrible job, and just deplorable. Anyway, mental, take it away. I'm getting angry.
I
could do a better job.
I want to know if, because this was the rabbit hole we fell down last time. If you bought this car and you watched the show, you can email us completely anonymously. I want to know how big of a deal the lack of a limited slip played in your decision to purchase this car. And are you going to drive it, or is it a collector piece? Again, totally anonymous. Get a hold of us. Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, geez, what are they? Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's move on. Let's get out of here because I'm with you. I'm all riled up on this stupid dealer. This stupid dealer. What good did they do? For the record, if you are looking to sell your classic car, Michael Deeb can represent you on Haggerty Marketplace. Haggerty Marketplace does not support the show, but they do employ my partner, Michael Deeb, and he is a representative over there. So give him a holler, DM him on the show or on the IG machine, and we will get you connected. All right, so we made a prediction. You know what? Oh, one more thing I wanted to say about this car and this listing in general. The one takeaway you should get from this is that Michael Deeb and I don't do any goddamn homework. I mean, we just like barely skim these things. We make a decision, 20 minutes before we do the show, if that. And it's like, oh, yeah, as we're looking at it, we're discovering that there's all kinds of problems with the listing. So do yourself a favor and don't listen to us. We don't know what we're talking about. Never take our advice, except that you should never list anything on P-Car Market.
Besides our one sponsor that just wants us to promote them, if anybody ever does underwrite the show, we will start doing our homework, because then this will be like basically a job instead of a hobby.
Right.
And then the copy will be way more interesting, because we'll know everything about every word, and we'll read the Carfaxes and all the nonsense. But for now, we're just having fun. And so let's have fun. Go ahead.
Well, I did actually want to mention that we had we never go back. I try to respond to comments. If you ever comment on any of our videos, not just when we're live. I mean, when we're live, there's obviously the chat going on. And so we try to interact with everyone who's watching and hanging out in the Nerd Herd right now. The Nerd Nation is they just rock it. But I try to go back and, answer everyone that makes comments on videos and stuff like that. And we've been getting some great feedback. There was, where did it go? There was a guy the other day that was going, how do we not have 1 million followers? This is the best show on YouTube. I'm serious. That was actually something someone said. I don't know. I didn't pay him. They were probably heavily sedated or in some serious drugs or whatever. But he's
I haven't looked at it in a while. How many subscribers?
That's just depressing. So we won't talk about that. I'm just going to revel in that one nice comment, because that's all we get. Everyone else says bad things and that I'm stupid and they're right about that.
That's mental. That's quality over quantity, right?
That is correct.
Absolutely. Totally is.
All right. Well, all right. So let's jump into this 1989 Speedster while we're smiling.
Yes, Ross is very, very happy. He's wanting this one.
Yeah. Oh, you and me both, sister. All right. So 11,000 miles on this Speedster out of Houston, Texas. This car was part of the Motor Fest, and it's amazing because in the opening paragraph of all the cars in the Motor Fest, grouping that Driver Source brought to market, there's a hyperlink to an article on BAT about Motor Fest, but not on this listing. Again, with the shit editing, and again to Driver Source for not noticing that they didn't hyperlink the Motor Fest word in here. I mean, it's amazing how nobody's editing. Like, where does the buck stop with these guys? It's unbelievable. Anyways, on to the car. Super nice car, Cosmoline underneath, low collector miles. Not my favorite colorway, and the car didn't have limited slip differential. These are great driver's cars. Now, again, this one's got such low miles. I don't think anybody's actually going to be go out ripping this one and putting miles on it. But it is surprising that somebody ordered one bespoke and didn't reach for limited slip differential, because it does enhance the driving experience, and I would say even more so on a torsion bar car. Listen, on a torsion bar car, you take all the help you can get to get these things to handle. Am I right or am I right, Mental? Thank you. So G50 gearbox, and it was at like 160 grand, I think, when we were looking at it. So without further ado, whatever that means, adieu, I thought this car was going to break the bank at $230,000. And then my partner, Mr. Curmudgeon, went over me at $235,911. what were you smoking last week? Mental, ever the more pragmatic one, which is weird to say, was the low man at $215,000. But we all believed that this car was going to sell. So guess what happened? Our effing car effed T-est. At $200,000, the bidding stopped where it failed to sell. Get this, John, just 10 bids. I would say that when we look back, when we look back, like over the last couple of weeks, we've been having more and more FTSs. We had one week, 3 1 week. We had one last week, and we've got, although we only covered 4 of the 5 cars I teed up, 3 of those 5 FTS, including that red RSA that we missed that was on.
It's in the nerd herd already knows that one's in the chum bucket.
Yeah. It's in the chum bucket for $215,000. So anyways, here's our car on BAT. It looked really good. It was properly marketed by Driver's Source along with a bunch of other like really high touch exotic cars. So you figured this car is going to get the eyeball, right? Well, it got 10 bids and failed at $200,000. I will give you this little piece of data. No, I won't. Okay, you guys start talking. I'll find the piece of data I was looking for. Go ahead, JP.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure where you're going with that, but I'm going to keep going back.
I was looking for views.
What's going on with the okay? Look, I love this car. I said that before. Everyone knows that I'm a big Cabrio fan, but I think it's just, a Cabrio this time of year is a tough thing to sell. Try selling a motorcycle in November. Try selling anything without a roof in November. It's a tall order, right? Even though this car has low miles, and we talked about this on the last episode, it's low enough miles to still be a collector, but it's not so low that it's like blue chip collector. For it to really to get those big numbers, it's going to have 4 figures or even 3 figures on the mileage. And once you break that 10,000 miles, you're definitely in another category. Look at this guy. Mental showing the video of the guy driving the car, and he's wearing gloves already. I was up in the Northwest this weekend, and my good buddy Jeff Weibel, one of my best friends up in the Northwest, Jeff? We're on the Porsche exchange program, so when he comes down here, I lend him one of my Porsches. When I'm up there, he lend me the keys to his. He just got one of those BMW, what was it, M2 competition. So for him, he wasn't even like, it wasn't just like, oh, I don't want to give up my Porsche. It was like he was chomping at the bit to go drive the M2 competition. We just tore up the roads. It was great to have the top down with the color, with the colors changing in the leaves and everything like that. And he just picked a spectacular route. We had a great time. But I would not want to try to sell any convertible right now, regardless of whether or not it's a collector class or just a driver. Nobody's going to be driving for a while. All the big shows are done, and really Porsche season doesn't start until late February, early March, when the Toy and Lit show happens in LA. So we're looking forward to that, but that's a long way away. We got to get through the holidays. We got to get through New Year. And then I think people will start thinking about convertibles and all these things again. But John, what do you think, Deep?
John, I've got a question for you. So, all right.
Okay.
So first of all, this car got 17,000 views, but only 10 bids. I still think that's a staggeringly small percentage of the interest versus the, not just engagement, but like somebody who was confirming that they would, buy the car at their bid. Based on what you just said, that it's a convertible and it's over 10,000 miles and it's late in the season, do you think $200,000 should have taken this car home?
No. If I wouldn't have gotten off this car for $200,000, not unless you really need the money. But and that's something Mental always says. Yeah. But this is a kind of wait till spring, wait till March. You're gonna timing. Yeah, it's just bad timing. This is just, what are you doing? Are you selling a convertible this time of year? That's just not going to happen. What do you think, Mental? What's the nerd herd say?
Oh, the nerd herd, they all had their bids in. They were kind of in line with us, and they everyone agrees it was a terrible time. They also agreed that it should have gotten more money, but yeah, it is what it is. And that it's part of a collection. They're going to roll it back into storage, and it'll sell for big bucks in the spring.
Let us know what you think of the. Let us know what you think of the results of this speedster in the comments below, and let's get on to our next prediction from last week. As we're kind of rolling into this next car, maybe it's time to talk real quick about the state of the economy. I mean, there were some weird numbers came out today. Okay, that was fun, Gary. You're making a little music there. That was exciting.
Yeah, you say economy or inflation. We go to the transition.
I thought
movement.
inflation was the buzzword. Yeah. Some oddly optimistic numbers came out. I mean, we're at 4% growth, which is just the weirdest thing in the world. But I think that is, now get ready for the music, that is inflationary. That is just straight up. Sales numbers are going to be higher for everything that's selling because prices are higher. Is that going to maintain in used cars? In actual used cars, the used car market, everyone's been predicting this massive collapse, but it just hasn't happened because there just haven't been a lot of new used cars dumped into the market. There are a lot of new cars available. Huh?
You better sell your Macan GTS while you can. Then.
Oh, it's way too late for that. My Macan GTS is, boy, that was the worst car decision I think I've ever made in my entire life. In my entire life was my Macan GTS.
But it's a cool car to be stuck with, right?
I guess, yeah. But I'm going to be stuck with it till the end of freaking time. And they are not cheap to maintain. And things go wrong with them. It's basically, I'm not going to get into that. Thanks for making me depressed. Talking about the economy or World War III, that doesn't get me depressed. Bring up my stupid Macan, that will put me into a stupor. I'm drinking Gatorade. I think I need the scotch. I think I'm going to have to move on over to that. Thanks a lot.
Only the scotch is more depressing than me.
Jeez Louise. All right, what else did we make a prediction on?
All right, we looked at a car that's a little bit out of our typical range by picking on this 2022 Acura NSX Type S that is on Bring a Trailer. As we mentioned earlier, this car is a numbered car. It's number 104 out of 350 Type S's for the world. I don't know how many brought into the United States, but this is a really rare car in the U.S. Finished in white with a black interior and red seats. This is sort of the atypical sort of almost R-type or really cool Japanese sports car colorway. It's kind of like, American cars having white with blue stripes and Mercedes car or German cars being painted silver. A Japanese car is typically white with a red seat. I love that this guy ordered this car in this way. It only has 218 miles, and I was teasing with Mental that I don't even think this guy's been to a gas station yet. So essentially, in brand new condition, this car was brought to market, and we all kind of liked it as a performance car, but it lacked, I think, character in a lot of ways. And so we wondered where that would leave this car, because the earlier NSXs were not a commercial success. They brought in a Type S and killed this car off pretty damn quick when you consider how long the old NSX lasted. And we also all agreed that there was nothing about this car besides being mid-engine, 2 seats, and a V6, which is only part of the power unit in this car. It really carries nothing over from the original NSX, which is terrible. So without further ado, we still all thought this car was going to bring some serious money. So I went high at $235,000. JP, you took the over at 240, and Mental took the under at 228,993. Without further ado, this car did not get that many bids, but it was our high bid count of the week. $215,000 is all it took to buy this car on just 20 bids. And again, the average for the Type S's in the secondary market is around $236,000. This car was pretty well underneath that by about 20 grand, and it's still sold. So I would say that the market is softening, and I think the people know it. Because as it went to 215, I was surprised that 215 was enough to get it home. Again, BAT might have helped with the Delta, but we're only talking about a $5,000 spread. So that means the reserve at best would have been like 219 or 220,000 that BAT still could have covered it. And I'm not even sure that's what happened. So the market is softening. We know that, but I think perception is the market is softening, and we're really seeing prices start to come down. even on rare exotic cars like this. JP,
I'm glad that Mental won this one. I'm glad that this car didn't bring big money. I do agree with everything you said about, the softening and all that kind of stuff. But this car is just, I think this car, look, nobody wants this thing. The only people that are buying this thing are people that are speculating that it's going to make money later. And fine, if you're that guy, you deserve this car. Put this car in your garage. Just sit on it. Don't drive it. Be that guy, and be that guy stuck with this lame, boring snooze of an excellent car. I mean, it's just like, whatever. Park it next to your Acura MDX that you drive daily and
vacuum it.
And just go away. Just don't. I like that people aren't showing up to car shows in this thing trying to show it off, because no one would notice it. No one would care. It'd be like, just get out of here with this stupid thing. Mental. It's kind of like you when you got all pissed off at the guys who were speculating at the little
the Honda,
Toyota
the
things.
GR. They were robbing my people, and we don't put up with that. This car is a technological marvel. It is not an investment. If you buy this car, you're going to get your investment out of it in smiles, but you're not going to get an investment out of it in money.
You think you're going to get smiles out of this thing? This thing's boring as hell.
I've driven this thing on a track. It is amazing.
Yeah, but do you think anyone who buys this is going to do that?
No, and that's the point. But if you're looking for one of these, go find yourself one of these era of just regular NSXs. They're highly. If you can find one for sale, they don't sell for very much. It's got Honda reliability, and they are fun to drive, but they don't elicit the same emotional response from the regular stuff that we cover, stuff that we're going to even cover later.
Yep. All right, let us know what you guys think of the results of this NSX, and let's move on to the last prediction from last week, and then we'll get to some new predictions. We've got new people. Do we have new people in the chat? We've got Hans Myers. Looks like Randy's hanging out. We got Anthony. We got
William Boda. I haven't seen that name in there before.
Hey, William, how you doing? Welcome to the Nerd Herd.
Yeah.
Anyone else that's new, say you're new in the comments, and we'll give you a shout out. Ross is hanging out there, or represent. Ross, I'm glad you came back this week, even though well, I mean, the HR department, we had to have a little bit of a talk. Our switcher Gary kind of ticked off 98% of our international audience with his BS comments from last week. So we had to have a little HR meeting on that one. But
by
thanks
HR
for
meeting,
around.
You mean you having a temper tantrum and stomping around before I got to my punchline?
That's exactly right.
All right.
That is
Ross,
precisely correct.
Ross actually has a question for the two of you.
And that question is
on the screen. What do you guys think an 02996 C4S Tiptronic should sell for? Asking for a friend.
Should or would? Important distinction. Because should $189, because that's a piece of crap. The Tiptronic is a boat anchor. Nobody wants it. But that said, more information would be handy, miles and color and stuff like that. But if it has decent, if it's decent color and decent miles, that's probably a $25,000 car with a Tiptronic. If it has a 6-speed, it's 35 to 50. 50 on the high end for a super low miles, super perfect car. But a Tiptronic, unfortunately, those are kind of sales proof.
We need to cut to a break real quick before we go too far.
Hold on. Excellent condition.
Hold on. We need to, Deep, we're going to go ahead and take a break. Let's go to commercial real quick.
All righty.
Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. If you don't subscribe to Bid Nerds on YouTube right now, I'm gonna shoot this 997. If you said, wait, that's a 996, you're a nerd. So subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Bid Nerds. Get those nerds! All right, we're back. We had a little technical issue that we had to take care of. Looks like the stream is still happening. What were you going to say, Michael Deep?
All right, so Ross, really quickly, if the car is in excellent condition, it's $60,000. If it's in good condition, it's $44,000 to $40,000. But with a Tiptronic, you cut the value in half. So an excellent condition C4S with a Tiptronic is only worth about $30,000. And a good condition C4S with a Tiptronic is only worth about $20,000 to $22,000. So there's your answer.
Keep in mind, absolutely no one on the planet is getting $60,000 for any 996 C4S. I don't, unless it has 5 miles on it, it's hermetically sealed from the factory. Right. There is no 60,000. There's no such thing.
They unsealed it, did the IMS, and then sealed it back up.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, your friend's car is probably worth $20,000 to $25,000.
Yeah, unfortunately. And, neat looking car. My first C4S was a tip, I'm embarrassed to say, but I was excited about that car.
Wow.
Yeah, look, a Porsche of that era, or any Porsche with an automatic, they're sluggish when you're driving around. When you're just like driving around, it's just the car feels like it's 1,000,000 pounds. When you go fast, it's a whole different story. But just driving down to get coffee or whatever, that's the whole point of having a Porsche, to have a 911, is to have something that's fun when you're doing those mundane things. And with a Tiptronic, it just, anyways. Hope the owner of that car isn't all sad right now. Anyways. Okay, so we had one other prediction that we had made last week. Let's go ahead and cover that real quick, and then we'll move on to new predictions.
All right, so the last car from last week is near and dear to my heart. A car I should have bought when I had the chance. The 1994 Porsche 911 C4 wide body. Our car has just 43,000 original miles and was offered by Ryan Friedman out of Glen Cove, New York. Ryan Friedman has an incredible inventory of cars. If you're a real Porsche guy like we are, you should go to their website and just Google all their incredible vehicles. This is one of them in white with it does actually have a limited slip, I believe, in the rear, all-wheel drive, and it's a tan interior with black dash. Super nice car, super nice condition, really rare by the numbers. They brought less than 300 of these into the United States for 1 year only, and they bring powerful money in the secondary market. I thought this car was going to set a high watermark. I believed in my heart that this car was soft market proof. And with that in mind, I was the high bidder, of course, at $218,000. Polnick, you were in at $199,964, saying that you didn't think this car would break $200,000. Good take. And then Mental split the difference, closer to you though, really in your neighborhood at $202,964. Our car failed to sell.
Let's get a split screen here. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah.
Our car failed to sell at just $175,000 on 12 bids. JP, just to recap, the NSX, the car that we thought nobody would care about, got 20 bids, and that was the high bid count of the 5 cars that we looked at last week. 12 bids, that's deplorable. That's like no action. This car got 13,000 views, which is pretty average, I would say. But only 12 bids is surprising to me. And that the bidding stopped at 175. That's not the market for this car. I do believe this is a $200,000 car at least. Even in this market, I don't believe 175 is a place where the consignor should have let the car go. I think the buyer just wasn't in the room. Which is weird to say when you consider that BAT is the largest auction site in the world. Their audience is insane. But out of 13,000 bids, they only got 12. I'm sorry, 13,000 views, they only got 12 bids. That's weak. That to me is telling me that people are nervous and nobody wants to jump in on this car thinking that there's more depreciation in its future. I do think this car is worth more money no matter what the speculative thing was. What the speculative perception might be. So anyways, John, I send that soup sandwich back to you. Deal with it.
I don't know. I think the car, as much as I like these, I think they're overpriced. The wide body is just a gorgeous looking car in the 964 configuration. But look, they were having a hard time making 200 even a few months ago. Yeah, we saw some exceptions, but we saw these really take off for a while, getting like 2.5. And everyone was like, oh, wow, this is crazy. And then, 200s kind of became the new normal. But I think this is a $150,000 car. It's a freaking great car, but at $150,000, there's other things that I think that the same collector is going to be starting to look at. And I think there is a softening of the market. We've seen it over and over and over again. That could be the new drinking game. The new normal for this car is going to be well under $200,000, and I don't think it's coming back. I don't think this is a over $200,000 car for a while.
Even with less than 300 made, huh?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, because it's still those numbers. I don't know. Those numbers always mean something. For some reason, look, nothing personal, but that you always go on those numbers. It's like, oh, they only make X amount of them. That's going to matter. I just don't think it matters as much. I don't think people care as much about how many of something there is. If they did, alphas would be worth way more than they are. And they're not. So there's all kinds of cars that are super rare that we're only made a few of. This is a car that it's a great freaking car, but I just don't. I think they were overpriced when they got above $200,000. It's still just a naturally aspirated 964. Who cares?
Okay, so do you think that the guy should have taken 175 for it?
I do. I think that he's not going to see more than that for a while. I don't think that anyone's buying one of these for anywhere near $200,000 till next year, and that's if something really good in the economy happens and people calm down. Which is that really going to happen next spring as we get closer to election? Good luck with that. What do you think, Mental?
I am going to echo the sentiments of Sahan here, who said, quote, sweet, when talking about you, thinking these things will never get over 200,000 again. And not that I will ever be in that market, but I would just love to see these back out of the collectors' garages and into the hands of enthusiasts. Because as you said, it's at the end of the day, it's a wide body 964. It's a 964. Wonderful to drive, but you're going to get dusted by a Honda Odyssey minivan. So why not give it to someone who's going to love it?
Yeah, and how many miles did this have on it again?
43.
That's just not low enough to be super collectible. I mean, I will asterisk my tirade with if it had 4,000 miles, it'd be over $200,000. Okay, yeah, actual collector mileage ones, sure, but this is the perfect car to buy and drive, because at 40,000 miles. You've told me this before, Deeb, when I've looked at cars. They're like, oh, it's got 50,000 miles on it. Put 30,000 miles on it, it won't matter. I think this car is the same kind of car. You buy it, it's got 40,000 miles on it. Drive it, put, for the next 3, 4, 5 years, put reasonable miles on it. Don't get it over, call it 70. And the car's probably going to be worth about the same, if not more. If there is the possibility of, an appreciating car here still. But I think that's mostly going to come from inflation. I don't know. Beautiful car, though. Don't get me wrong. I love 964 wide bodies. Our good friend T. Cruz up in Seattle has one, and it is one of the coolest looking Porsches of all time. Just don't think it's worth that much. Anyways, what do you guys think of the results of this 964 wide body? Do you think the low production numbers? Are you in Michael Deeb's camp that because they only made 300 of them, that means these should be worth a whole bunch more? Or are you like me? What's that? $250,000. Or are you like me, where I just like, you know what? You can just take a regular 964 on it and wide body that sucker. Give your friend Nikias a call, and he'll come over and chop your fenders off and put some wide ones on there for you. All right, let's move on to some new predictions. I'm pretty stoked about the cars that we have on the list this week.
We got some weird ones.
We do have some weird ones. We're having a little fun with it this week because look, we're always talking about Porsches. I saw the list and like, oh look, 4 more goddamn Porsches. Whoopity freaking do. I had to cut a couple of them out of there. So we've got, but let's start with a car that I didn't pick, a car that I do think is kind of interesting. But Michael Deeb, take it away. What do we got on BAT with this wagon thing? What is that?
All right, on Bring a Trailer is a 2011 BMW 328i Sport Wagon with 67,000 miles out of Laurel, Maryland. These cars employ a 3-liter inline 6. This car has a 6-speed manual with sport seats, the M body kit, a panoramic roof. They upgraded the suspension to Bilstein B12 kit, and it's got an Eibach front sway bar. The guy also sourced one of those ZHP shift knobs and an actual M3 steering wheel. That inline 6 is good for 230 horsepower and 200 pound-foot of torque. That's normally aspirated. The thing that I love about this car is that it does have the M body kit, and that it does have the M Sport seat, so it's the sport package version. And I also like that this one is rear drive only and not an all-wheel drive. I don't live in Seattle. It doesn't rain where I live every day, so make mine a rear-wheel drive. I love this car in silver with black interior and the aluminum inlay. Those sport seats are one of the most comfortable seats you could ever have the joy of sitting in and driving a car. And with a 6-speed manual, I think this car is probably a ton of fun. I would love to own this car. I think I dig it the most. So super cool car. And I just thought it would be one worth taking a look at. This is an enthusiast wagon. This is a utility vehicle for people that love to drive but probably live in the city or have a small parking space where they live. JP, any time behind the wheel of a 3 Series wagon, and what did you think of it?
I have driven the wagons, but they've always been, automatic. I've driven plenty of 328s with manuals, and they're pretty darn great. I bought that all-wheel drive one off of Cars and Bids a couple years ago on accident. Mental, give me a wide shot. Give me my camera right here. So when this came out, this is an old MacBook that I have for the studio, right? Yeah. I think the same guy that designed this car. I mean, that interior with the aluminum brush thing, it's like this is the MacBook 328. I think that's what BMW stands for here, or that's what M stands for. Yeah.
Time out. Mental, isn't this a Chris Bangle? Isn't this the Chris Bangle Flame Edge design generation of the 3 Series?
I believe it is towards the end of it.
It is, but
I'm going to allow myself to be corrected by the nerd herd, but I am 90% certain that BMW never imported a manual wagon, so this is a conversion.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. I've never seen a manual, and maybe we need to actually read this here.
I don't think that's correct. I'm gonna. So the nerd herd, please chime in here, but I'm gonna go out and say that's not correct.
I'd be shocked if it were a conversion. But it could be a Euro. But either way, I wasn't. I mean, come on, Deep. How long have we been doing this? You think I'm serious? I was actually talking about the actual designer of a MacBook.
No. But I was nerding out and just dropping Chris Bangle's name because I really don't know shit about BMWs. But I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, they bangled.
I remember the hatred that he got when he designed these cars, and I think they've aged pretty well. I think it's a good looking car and it's distinctly BMW. The stuff they're doing now is way more offensive to me than what this was.
Yeah, you ever see those memes where they have a president that you don't like, and he's like, You miss me yet? That's kind of where I feel like that Chris Bangle guy probably is like.
Absolutely.
Look, the thing I hate about this era of BMWs isn't the Chris Bangle thing. It's the fact that 99.9% of the interiors have wood trim where you have the brushed aluminum on this one. And that's really what makes it what makes it look like a MacBook. Sahan, you probably remember I had that. I had a 328 sedan. It was an automatic, but it was my daily driver, and it was basically this car, only not a manual. And I love that car as a daily driver. We got some noises there. I don't know if you guys can hear that in the studio here, but somebody's driving something loud.
Somebody's trying to back up their Harley, so hence they have to keep blipping the throttle.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think this, and here's the other thing too. This is the perfect car because it's not a 335. That is the number one benefit of this car, is that 328 I know is an incredibly reliable BMW of the era, which is weird to say. But I don't know, Mental. What do you think of these?
These are absolutely wonderful cars. You're not going to impress anybody other than other BMW nerds with this one.
Yeah.
Because, but every BMW, you're like, ooh, manual wagon, make it brown, diesel, all-wheel drive, and you've got the trifecta. This is a fantastic, if you've got to cross continents, this is right up there with the other car we're going to have later. They are unbelievably utilitarian. There's enough room back there. The seats fold flat. You can sleep in these things. They're just all around great cars, and the design that JP was going into, they do kind of fly under the radar, particularly the attention of law enforcement. If you know how to do this,
man, throw some coilovers on this thing. Holy!
It's already got some upgraded suspension.
Yeah. It's got Bilstein Pro Tools.
Yeah, let me pop back to here because there's your Bilsteins right there, man. So
boom.
One of the nerd herds in here, they pointed this out earlier. We didn't get it in there. This was clearly enthusiast owned. Someone loved this car because every modification is exactly the right mod. Not over modded, not overpowered. It is just everything makes this car drive better.
Totes.
Yeah, even the subtle wheels, like they didn't go for the standard 19-inch big old things. They've got the 17-inch wheels, which
But more
aren't
contemporary.
as cool looking, but they probably make the car handle better and make it a little bit snappier with a little bit more sidewall and a nice little comfort ride still. Mine had the big 19-inch competition wheels on it, and that definitely affected the ride on this car. All right, so let's get to some predictions. What do we think this car is going to bring?
All right, JP, our BMW on BAT closes tomorrow, and it's sitting at $9,000 on 9 bids. I think this car is going to do better than the average because of the mods and because it's a manual. A lot of these cars are only bringing $14,000, $15,000, $16,000, but I think this car is going to do a little bit better than that. I don't think it'll crack 20, but I say $18,000 will win this car tomorrow on BAT, which might be a surprising result, but I think it's because the miles are well under 100,000, and it's got, it's got almost $10,000 in optional equipment already installed on the car, enhancing the driving experience and not making it suffer. Like, it's not like it won't pass smog. So I think all that's going to benefit this car for the right buyer, and that guy will pay $18,000 for it. So JP, $18,000 to you. Tell me I'm crazy.
What would a 328, a 2011 BMW, just a manual sedan go for? In this, with all the same mods, basically the exact same car without the wagon thing. I'm thinking that's like at best a $10,000, $11,000 car.
A nicer condition than this, yeah.
You're right. But so to have this car a wagon, will it bring twice as much? I think it'll get close to that, but I'm not going to go. It's certainly not 20. Your number was what? 19? 18. So I'm going to park it right under you and go 17,328 and pass it off to mental.
Bitch ass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how big a spread can we get? It's not like I can go much. I'm not going to go. Look, this thing's going to go for $20,000, give or take $3,000. There's no way it's higher than that. What do you think?
I'll be high man and say 19,328 for all the same reasons. Enthusiast owned. It does appeal to a very narrow demographic, but the people that would buy this car, they've got money to go buy a new car, and they won't because it doesn't have any soul. This car has soul and utility in it, and we're getting some interesting bids from the nerds as well.
I would rather drive this than that stupid NSX that we were talking about earlier.
Wow.
I would. I mean, it's like it wouldn't even hesitate. I mean, obviously, if someone said, which car would you rather have if they were going to give me one or the other, of course, I'd take the NSX, and I wouldn't even drive the NSX. I would just immediately put it back on BAT and get whatever someone gives me for it, and then go buy this car and a bunch of other stuff. What do you guys think? We are getting some, what kind of numbers are we getting in here?
We've got everything from 16,000 up to 19,328.
Kellen's hanging out. Oh, Kellen's close to me at $17,000. Where's Carbine at? Where'd he come in at?
He threw it in here. He said 16,875. Yeah,
875. What's that about, Chris?
Carbine's pretty funny. All his bids are low, but I think they're all buy bids. Like, I think he's actually thinking that the consigners are watching and he might be able to buy the car for the numbers he puts out there. Because Carbine's on his dealership, and I don't think he can help himself. I think every one of his things is a buy bid.
Sahan's in at 16,728. What the hell what is 728? What are these weird numbers? I don't know. All right, let's get to the next car because I've been chomping at the bit to get to this next one.
All right, JP, I know you picked this thing because I didn't. This is a 1992 Volkswagen Golf Country. This was a non-U.S. car. It employs a ZZZ VIN number, which is just like Porsche's. That is for the rest of the world and not the United States. Our car is on a Oregon title out of Sisters, Oregon, with just 41,000 miles. Our car looks to be in spectacular condition and super low miles. We've seen a few of these sell on other platforms. They all have over 200,000 kilometers. Our car has like 60-something thousand kilometers, which is about 41,700 miles. JP, I don't really know much about the Country except that they do come from the factory with a raised suspension with extra ground clearance. They're all-wheel drive. And they come with things like fog lights, and this car has a factory rear hinged tire, like a swing out tire carrier that is from Volkswagen. So really neat car with a couple of modifications that are worth noting. The Sparco wheels are not from Volkswagen. Those are aftermarket. The Nardi steering wheel, which is wood, is absolutely and deplorably misplaced on this car, and also aftermarket. It did not come from Volkswagen that way. But somebody retrofitted alternate front seats that are covered in leather and have seat heating. Those aren't the Volkswagen Mark II seats that should have been on this car. And so I wonder if they've taken it a step too far, and that is going to hold it back. Looking at those seats, JP, are those Corrado seats by chance?
Let's see here. I'd have to bring it back up. No, those are definitely not Corrado seats, but they are Volkswagen seats. They might have been out of
Pull up a Corrado seat for me. I think
that is not a Corrado seat. There's no Corrado has way more.
Those are almost fairly standard Volkswagen.
Yeah, I mean they look like they're more likely from a Dasher than a Corrado. Yeah, Corrados have big old. Anyways, I don't want to get into Corrados. Look, this car. Everybody's so jacked up about the 911 Dakar that just came out, and that's a direct response to Porsche watching everyone go batshit over all the Safari builds that have been going on for the last 5 years, maybe even longer, 10 years. The Safari craze with 911s took the F off, and I think for good reason. What an awesome platform to have fun with and go do that off-road travel and stuff. But look. Porsche was making, call it rally cars. They didn't call them Safari back in the 70s and 80s. They called them rally cars. And that's really what this thing is. It's more of a rally car than a Safari car. But I think you have a rally car, you can't sell it to save your life. You call it Safari and everybody wants to, they can't pull the money out of their ass and every seat cushion they can find as quickly as possible, as quickly as they can. I mean, everyone wants a Safari. Everyone is Safaring their BMW wagons, they're Safaring their Cayennes. I've done it, and it's fun. But this car did it back when who was doing that? Nobody was doing that. It's shocking to see one for sale and just kind of remembering that Volkswagen did this from the factory. How freaking cool is that? You look underneath, they really went for it. It's not just a drive shaft under there, adding some all-wheel drive. It's not just like, hey, let's put a lift kit on this thing. That subframe is freaking reinforced. You got any pictures underneath? I mean, look at those bars going down either side of the. I mean, this thing is heavy freaking duty, dude. I love this car. I've never driven one. I've never seen one in real life. But look at that. That's all factory reinforced stuff. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Mental, have you ever driven one of these?
I have not driven them. They came out when I was actually living in Germany in the 90s. And this is the predecessor to your all-wheel drive R32 Golfs and everything like that. They actually built these just for people that live down unimproved roads. And they were designed to be Volkswagens that would last forever while you drove over way crappier surfaces.
Yeah, it wasn't like they were like, oh, let's make a sports car that you can go rip off in the desert and have fun. It truly was a utilitarian car. I think there's a bunch of these in Australia, was there not? Maybe Ross can answer that, being over in the island across from the big island there. Let us know, Ross. All right, what do we think this thing's going to bring, Michael Deep?
So, JP, our car has the lowest miles of just about anyone that's come to market in the last couple of years in the United States, at least that is on record. So, again, on Cars and Bids, which is the right place for this, and closing in another day, 2 days from now, essentially, our car is sitting at $9,000 on 7 bids. John, I think this one's going to do really well. I'm going to say $17,000. And then I'm going to ask you, after you give me your bid for the money, would you rather have this Volkswagen Golf Country or, for what is essentially similar money, the BMW 328 Sport Wagon?
Boy, that's a good question. If they were in fact similar money, and
They are for me.
Well, I mean, that's assuming your number's right. I think this thing's going to go for way more. Mental, why don't you bring up the one that's over on Bring a Trailer right now as well? So on Bring a Trailer is a 1991 Volkswagen Golf Country 5-speed. It's also got 2 days to go, and it's at $16,000 already.
Yeah, with more than twice as many miles. It's
got with 98,000 miles. Exactly. So this car's in Texas. This car is far more original. You pointed out things like the wrong seats and the wrong steering wheel, whereas this 91 does have the correct stuff. That steering wheel does look a lot like a Corrado steering wheel, that's for sure. But yeah, this car appears to be in slightly more original condition, but far more miles than the one on Cars and Bids. So this is a battle of the platforms right here.
This car is part of the Octomotorfest collection from Driver Source. It's also one of their marketed cars, like the Speedster was.
Yeah, so there's some extra eyeballs going to that. It's on BAT, so it's going to get more eyeballs anyway. I'm with you. If there was only one, it kind of makes sense that it would be on Cars and Bids. What are the odds that there are two on the market right now? A day to go on this one. So often we see on Cars and Bids, the day before is the last bid. Will this car get another bid at all on Cars and Bids? And will it fail? If it only gets a few more bids, will it fail to sell? I don't know, man. I'm gonna say this thing only gets 14 grand on this platform, and
wow.
Not because this is going to be a really interesting experiment to see where this one lands versus the one on BAT. This one's going to close. This Cars and Bids car is going to close before the one on BAT, and the one on BAT is at $16,000 already. It's not uncommon for BAT ads to go almost double on the last day, and it still has 2 days to go.
Here's some data for you. On Cars and Bids, the Volkswagen Golf Country has gotten 6,800 views. On BAT, as part of the Octomotorfest by whatever, they've got 13,300 views. So very interesting. 8 bids up to $16,000, and it closes in 2 days from now. So yeah, this will be a great juxtaposition. We'll probably cover the results of both cars just to compare and contrast.
For sure. Mental, what do you think?
What's your bid?
Yeah, JP, what was your bid?
I said 14,000.
Oh, sorry. All right, I'm a little more pragmatic than this. I'm going to say it's going to go for 17,800. I think the steering wheel and the seats are going to hurt this one, especially in comparison to the one on the collection over there.
I mean, low miles is pretty incredible. I'm not 100% sure that those seats are not factory. I mean, because those are Volkswagen seats. And they're a Euro. This is not an American.
Our buddy Kellen seems to think they are Mark 3 or 4 golf seats.
Yeah, but this is a 92, and it's the kind of thing where Volkswagen could have been making this seat and they put it in this car. I mean, look, it matches the door cards. If it had cloth seats originally, it would have cloth door cards that would match whatever the seats were at some point. And these match. So I don't know.
Said, in the ad on Cars and Bids, it says modifications reported by the seller include the wheels. And then they say aftermarket leather upholstery with deviated stitching, aftermarket heated front seats. Those are two of the things that they list as aftermarket parts for the car.
Okay, so they say upholstery, which could also include the door card. So it was more than just the seats then, and that makes sense too. I'm not saying 100% one way or the other, but I mean clearly they did that. It's just, you get my point. If they just swapped the seats out, they would have different door cards. So the fact that they went that far bodes well for the car. I mean, that's pretty cool. Heated seats in this thing is exactly what you'd want if you had this car out in Pennsylvania or something like that, or Montana, where you're going to rip through the store. Oregon. Yeah, exactly. It totally makes sense. All right. What's the nerd herd say about this, Mental?
We've got bids from $52,000 all the way down to $16,000.
Who bid $52,000?
Our guy Kellen, and that was after a $3,000 demerit for the seats and the wheel.
Wow, that's incredible. What does he think the one in BAT is going to go for? $50,000. That okay? I mean, sure, why not? I could see the one on BAT getting there. I just don't know if this one's going to get there. Weird is Doug DeMuro's jam, but I think it's weird and cheap. I think it goes along with it. So what do we got here? What are you yelling at me?
Basically, he's saying do not underestimate the VW nerds.
That is a good point. I mean, we've seen Corrados get darn near $50,000. We've seen GTIs get $80,000 Mark IIs and stuff like that. Yep. This is a very weird Volkswagen, and this is coveted. So, yeah, it might go nuts. Sure, look forward to seeing the results of this one. Let's move on to the next prediction. What else we got on the list?
John, we haven't covered a 996 in a while, and I thought this one was just an interesting spec. So what we're looking at is a 2003 Porsche 911 Carrera, a C2 coupe on Bring a Trailer. This is an alumni car, so we'll go over that result here in a second. With just 71,000 miles out of Sacramento, California. This is a manual transmission car that employs or was built with the X51 package, which takes horsepower from 315 and adds 30 horsepower from the factory, bringing the total up to 345 horsepower. This car has 18-inch Carrera 2 wheels. It's got the adaptive sports seats that you and I both love. These are incredible seats. I mentioned earlier, it's a manual transmission car. It does have an aftermarket rear fixed spoiler, which I don't like. And it's got an aftermarket touchscreen Pioneer head unit. So like when you press the button, this big screen comes up and covers half your dashboard. I don't like those things. Just put a standard stereo in it and miss me with all that dumb shit. In 2021, the guy changed the IMS bearing. So they've got receipts for an IMS bearing. And then they did a boatload of maintenance on the car and services between 21 and bringing the car to market. There's a short list of all the things they changed it, but one of the things that they did get into that was pretty extensive was updating the rear main seal. But air oil separator, water pump, low temperature thermostat, serpentine belt, air filter, ignition coils, engine mounts, all that, spark plugs, all those things have been changed by the current owner up in Sacramento. So it's got an IMS bearing. It's got some miles on it. It's got a really cool kit with the horsepower. It's got the adaptive sport seats. It's a neat car, and I just thought maybe we could take a look at this one and see what 996s are pulling these days. And then when we come back to do the numbers, I'll look at what it sold before in June of 22.
Yeah, I'm with you on that stupid stereo. I would chuck that, throw it in the garbage so damn fast. I do like that they did the console delete underneath it. This is a great little car. As long as it's not terribly expensive, this is going to be if you can buy this for say under $25,000, I think you've got a fantastic way to get into 911-ness and without being too far out on a limb. You mentioned the IMS. You always have to mention the IMS, unfortunately, when you talk about 996s. Buddha is in the comments when we were talking about that 996 C4S that Ross was asking about. And, even when you change the IMS, they can blow up. We definitely have seen that happen. But so often people talk about buying a Porsche. They want to have low miles. This is the car, and we've talked about this before. This car at this many miles with the maintenance that it has on it is kind of in a sweet spot. It's covered most of the big stuff, that the factory would have had to pay for when it was under warranty. If the IMS hasn't gone at this point, it's probably not going to. So it's probably going to be good to go well into the 100-something thousand mile range. These do have little issues like coil packs and stuff like that, but whatever. I mean, it's just, I think this could be a very fun way to get into 911 without having to spend a whole lot of money. I hate the interior being gray. This era of 911 interior, of course, not the favorite of most people. That dashboard is pretty tough to look at when it's black. It sucks up kind of the unattractiveness of kind of a dated design. The gray, unfortunately, does none of those things. But I think you could live with that, with the grin that this car would put on your face. You get out on a back road with that X51 package. It's going to have just enough little extra power. That 3.6 liter on this size of car. The 996 is kind of like the perfect size. I like this car. I would buy it. Personally, this is a car that I would actually own as long as I didn't have to spend a whole heck of a lot of money on it. Mental, what do you think of these?
I've had two 996s. I really enjoyed them. I thought they were great cars. And no, they're not collectors. They're just good drivers' cars. I do agree. Just step one, pull that dash out and take it to one of the local upholstery shops there and have that turned black. Just so you don't have to stare at it. Both of my 996s went well into the 150 mile range. So I've had
mile.
Oh yeah. And I'm not nice to my cars at all. Yeah. And everyone is in agreement. This is a, no, you're not going to get anyone's attention on this, but you're going to have a great commute to work.
For sure. All right. What do we think this car is going to bring?
So JP, get this in June of 2022, this car was on Bring a Trailer, where it sold. It had 67,000 miles at the time. Out of Phoenix, Arizona, it sold for $40,000.
Whoa!
And this is June of 22, so just over a year ago, on 21 bids. So pretty amazing that it brought really good money back in the day. And I'm just trying to see if
June of 2022, this thing brought $40,000.
$40,000.
Holy cow, is this guy in for a rude awakening?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought my Macan was a bad investment. Holy crap.
Our car closes in 4 days from now, so this guy's got some time to sweat still. But it's sitting at just $14,000 on 5 bids. It is not getting a lot of love so far. I don't think you can get this car for under $25,000, but I do think it's going to go for under $30,000. I'm going to say $29,000, where I thought it would sell. But now that I know that this guy spent money on maintenance and he paid $40,000 for the car, I'm wondering if at $29,000 it doesn't meet his reserve without a little help from BAT. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm curious to see if it sells. Like if it gets to 29, if it sells or not, will be equally as surprising. So JP, I'm staying on my number, but I don't know if it'll sell for that. $29,000 to you. Where are you coming in, and do you think it'll sell at your number, knowing that this guy's in it, freaking almost $50,000?
I just feel bad for this guy. I mean, look, the BAT gods could swing in and help this guy. I mean, you see, look, yeah, it's not that there are enough people. There may not be people out there that have, I think $100,000 car is going to be harder to sell than this car, because I think there's people out there that have $25,000, $35,000 that would want a car, something like that. Something like this is a car that you could daily drive, and is a kind of car that you might want to buy if you do have that 6-figure or higher collectible that you don't really want to put miles on. And you're like, well, I better preserve the value of that car because who knows what's going to happen with the economy and stuff. So but the thing is, I know of one of these in town here in Las Vegas. There's a really nice 2003 just over in Summerlin. That car has like 90,000 miles on it. So a few thousand more miles, but it's similar maintenance, same colorway. It's got Fuchs on it. It's got coilovers. It doesn't have the X51. But I mean, he's been trying to sell it for $25,000 for like 11 weeks, and he just lowered the price down to 21. And I don't think he has a chance. I think he's going to be lucky to get if he can break 20. So this car, will it break 20? Sure, but I don't think by much. I'm going to go 22,996, and I don't obviously. There's no way it sells at that. If he bought it for 40 and spent money on it, I think he's in for a rude awakening. What do you think, Mental?
I am totally with you on that one. There's any number of these cars that show up here, certainly not with the X60 package, but this color combo, this generic, I bought a 996 Porsche silver on silver kind of a deal. And they are all day long, depending on their levels of deferred maintenance in the sub 25 category. I would own this one because it appears to at least have been owned by an enthusiast, but I'm not paying 40 grand for this thing. 40 grand. I'm going to go buy that BMW wagon and something else way more rewarding.
Yeah. I mean, there's just 40. $30,000 would be absurd.
So
I mean,
I'm gonna throw my bid at 22,996 because that's what we do, right?
22,996. Okay, yeah.
You guys are on the same bid. Change your bid, mental.
No, I said 23,996.
Oh, okay. I got.
Yeah.
No, you said 22.
And
because
it's
did I say
in
22? Maybe I did say 22,996. I'm going to defer to Deep. So
well,
you
then
stole
I'm going
my
to say
bid.
21,996.
Oh, he's going under.
Right.
Okay,
And Lucas is saying 26,996 because that's the cool thing to do when you bid on a 996.
Carbine says 29,800.
wow.
What
Yeah,
else
Ross
we
has got 31,996. We've got 34,996. Straight up, just 25 grand. 36,996. And 23.
Randy 36,996. Holy cow, brother!
Yeah,
Randy's including free shipping to Idaho.
Is the boot full of crack? What the heck? I gotta look at the pictures here again. What is this thing? Okay.
And, I think Anthony just kind of hit the nail on the head in here, and that he's saying the guy thinks he's going to make money on the car, and he got suckered into Porsches are blue chip investments, and they're not. You've got to know the one. You've got to know the nerds and know which one you're going to buy.
If he had tried to sell this thing 6 months later after he bought it, then I think maybe he could have made a couple of bucks. But that window closed a long time ago.
No
long
way.
time ago.
He was not. When he paid 40 grand, he paid all the money for this car. No time between June of 22 and today was that car worth more than he paid for it. And let's add that at $40,000, you got to put $2,300 on top of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
he paid $42,300, and then he bought a plane ticket and probably drove it back to Sacramento. So no. There was never a moment when this car was worth more money than he was in it. The second he drove into his own driveway after taking delivery of the car. So
there were some crazy numbers going on about that time. I mean, that's when we were seeing 996 C4Ss with manuals go for 60. So I mean, $20,000 less than that. I don't know. That doesn't. I think that he. Look, I'm not going to argue with you.
This is going to be a great.
Yeah.
I wish I was going to be here on Sunday because this is going to be a great one. I may have to watch this on the plane when I'm flying back from Houston just to see how this one shakes out. Because either someone's going to get really ripped off or someone's going to get a great daily.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Okay, well, cool. We've got some numbers to see on this one. Let's move on to our last prediction of the day. What else we got on the bid nerds
I'm so
list?
happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
all right,
He's getting all
without
giddy.
further ado, we are finally covering Chris Carbine's part of the Nerd Herd 2005 Mercedes Benz S55 AMG. This car has now just about 119,000 miles on the odometer. It is located at Carbine Motor Cars, which is the consignor of this car, on MB Market, Mercedes-Benz Market, out of New Orleans, Louisiana. The S55 employs a supercharged 5.4-liter V8 with a whopping 493 horsepower and even more impressive 516 pound-feet of torque. This car
more
is
than the actual 6.3, more torque than the 6.3.
Oh yeah, and it's in outstanding original condition. There is a photograph included in this bucket showing that it still has the Motorola StarTech phone, which was a Mercedes option, in the armrest in the front seat. So Chris bought this car and brought it to New Orleans. And when it arrived, it needed a sensor to rectify the ABC, the air suspension, which they did. And then Chris sold it to one of his loyal local customers there. They have a good relationship. Chris has placed many cars with this particular client. That client has enjoyed the car for over a year. And during his ownership of the car, he paid and had a complete paint correction done on the car. The car looks amazing. The interior is in really good condition, and the paint is smooth and shiny. And everything on the car basically works. So there you go. Chris decided he's got a good relationship with Blakely Leonard, who is the owner-operator of MB Market. Blakely has survived the pandemic, And while maybe not extraordinary mass adoption, he's still in business and still selling cars. And Chris and him have made like kind of a kindred friendship. I believe Chris has sold Mercedes Benz on MB Market prior to this car running, but the car is on there. Chris wanted us to meet Blakely, although he couldn't make it onto the show tonight. He's going to be with us on Sunday if he can. But in the meantime, we promised Carbine we were going to cover this car, and so here we are. So JP, I know this car is totally in Mental's wheelhouse, but I send it to you first. I know you and Rochelle have owned Mercedes SLs in the past, but have you ever owned a Mercedes that employed this motor and drivetrain? In other words, did you guys ever have any Mercedes that had this supercharged 5.4? Our buddy Sebastian Hassel has an E55 wagon with this drivetrain, and I think he's done an ECU flash, and I've driven that car. It is a powerhouse. Like, it is an unbelievable muscle car. In this car, it's probably not as extraordinary because the car's so damn heavy, but it's still a crate drivetrain. So any time behind the wheel of any Mercedes with this drivetrain, and then what do you think about this particular car? And as you're looking at the platform, what do you think of the platform?
Yeah, I've never owned one of these types of cars. Hold on. Mental, why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, no problem. So what you're looking at, this car was designed for the express purpose of crossing continents. And there is simply no better way to travel. Heated, air-conditioned seats. It's got the pneumatic suspension, which at a certain speed, it just tucks down into the ground. And I can speak from, as long as there's no law enforcement listening, at 140 miles an hour, you can have this conversation at this tone in that car because it is so quiet. You are not coming off the line heavy, but you will very quickly and quietly find yourself and go straight to jail speeds.
I disagree. This car's 0 to 60 is 4.6 seconds. This car does come off the line heavy.
And it is, and it does. It weighs almost as much as Suburban, but there is just no better way to put four people and eat up miles. And when I had my AMG, I would often say that, granted, I'm racing the TSA. I'm not racing an airplane, but I could drop you off at the Las Vegas airport and pick you up in LA, and one of us is going to have a much better trip than the other one.
Yeah, totally.
How much different from a Maybach is one of these?
Maybachs are it's a lot more gadgets, but the drivetrains and all that kind of stuff. Maybach, when they first started coming out, they were just using Mercedes drivetrains because they're anvil reliability. You take care of a Mercedes and it will outlast cockroaches.
Wasn't the Maybach of this generation basically one of these with more gadgets on it?
Yeah.
And different badges?
With a stretched wheelbase and another 2,000 pounds in options.
Yeah, basically business class seats in the back, and but yeah, no. The only thing that worries me about this car is the ABC. That system is notoriously problematic. It's great that they replaced the sensors.
I'm going to jump in. It's problematic if it's neglected. It's a $400 sensor in the steering wheel, and the shocks are actually comparably priced with any sort of coilover that you would go on there.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Okay. If it fails, you've got the air, you've got the bags, you've got there's a pump.
There's a pump.
The problem is that it's not just if it's. Look, if the bag goes bad and you're driving it, if you don't stop driving it immediately and get that bag fixed, if the bag has a small leak, the pumps will try to compensate for that leak. And will keep the thing pumped up. It will keep it full, and that's what destroys the pumps. And once you lose that pump, now you're talking about a nearly $8,000-9,000 repair. I've heard of people swapping to coilovers, but I know that requires genuine modifications. But Mental, you seem to be aware of some other. Is there a cheaper way to get out of all those problems, or I mean? How do we not know that this one's been dealt with?
I'm a do-it-yourselfer. Where you get in the problems, if they neglect the rubber gets dry and rips, and that's where you get your air. And it gives you a warning as soon as that happens. And it's the same thing if you got a flat tire on one of these cars. These are AMG 3-piece wheels. You're not going to put on the Space Saver. In fact, I'm not even sure it comes with one. You're going to call the auto club, and you're going to get picked up. If you've got to limp it off the freeway, you can. And then you get it. The shocks are as easy to replace as a regular shock. They're $400. Then you get a trade-in at O'Reilly's. The pump is right under the hood on the left side. You lift it right up. They can get a little pricey if you don't shop around for the parts, but it's 4 bolts and literally press-in air fittings. It is easy to do, and now. There are people that go around and find these neglected ones at the buy here, pay here lots that are sitting way low, which you can't let them do that. You can't let them squat all the way down because that also puts creases in the bags. This one appears to have been taken care of quite well, and I have full faith that Chris would not sell it if it wasn't.
Without that having been taken care of. Yeah, I mean, this car has 100-something thousand miles on it, but it sure looks nicer than that. It's definitely a place you want to spend time in. I'm with you on that mental. If you got to go somewhere, this is definitely a car that you want to just like.
And Williams corrected me on here. He's saying it's the ABC. It does use the shocks themselves do use the adjustable fluid, but it still is a small bag on top of the shock that does that with the pump on that one. It's a combination system on there. I've done the work on mine.
Well, there it is. I mean, just be aware that the ABC system is a system that requires someone, if you do have a problem with that on one of these cars, make sure you find someone that actually knows what they're doing. Sounds like someone that knows what they're doing will save you an ish ton of money. If you just go to one of these shops that looks at the book, it's going to be $10,000. So
100%.
Yeah, yes. But that's the case for all cars, all German cars, and all these exotic cars. It's expertise may cost you more from a shop hour point of view, but that expertise and experience will save you countless amounts of dollars in saving the amount of time that people will spend on this and knowing where to get the right parts and everything like that. Anyways, we're getting off topic. This car looks really pretty. I do like the platform. It's, I haven't spent much time here in. One thing I don't like about the platform, it's frankly that I don't like about Hagerty and some of these other sites. How long has this auction been? This has been a 2-week auction. Am I wrong on that?
Oh, I forget. We'll have to ask Blakely. I do believe it's over a week, but I don't know that for certainty. Mm-hmm. And I have not spent a lot of time on MB Market. I was just happy to see that they were still around because we hadn't covered a car on there for a while. Yeah. But we'll ask Blakely when he gets back and why they do that. Hagerty's we're running our cars. All of our cars are running 2 weeks, which is kind of a long time.
I actually get on MB Market probably every day because they have amazing stuff like this, but they also have old school hardcore nerd 300 diesel wagons and W123s and Evos and some of the old school 190s. Yeah.
Yeah. And are they getting many cars? I mean, how many cars do they do in a day?
I would put them volume-wise comparable with P-Car Marketplace, but I'm guessing if Carbine's doing business with them, probably a lot more reputable.
Yeah, we do not want to disparage these guys by insinuating they're anything like P-Car Market other than maybe the volume that they're doing. But all right, well, this will be an interesting experiment. We haven't been on this platform for a while. We've got a reputable seller. We've got a great car, and we've got a platform that I think there are good people behind it. So all that said, this car has less than a day to go. What's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen, Michael Deeb?
All right, JP, I should mention also the car has a clean Carfax. So without further ado, our car closes tomorrow on MB Market. If you haven't already, go over and check it out. It's definitely worth a look. Car is currently sitting at $6,050 on, let me read this. I made some notes, 16 bids. So it's getting some action. I think our car is going to break $10,000. I'm going to go $10,900 where I believe it will sell. JP, where you at?
Yeah, I mean, again, platforms, like if it were BAT and it's sitting at, $9,000 or whatever, or $6,000, it's not uncommon for the number to double on the second day. Platforms like P-Car Market, we also see that happen, but on Cars and Bids, we generally don't. So I don't have enough to know. I really don't know this car. I don't, it is an S55. If it were just an what would be 550, the non-supercharged version, 500 of this
500,
era. Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably a $12,000-$13,000 car. But this is the S55. We're seeing SL55s regularly over 20 grand. That's a car that I would pay attention to, probably 25. I don't think the S's are going to bring that much money because I don't think there's nearly as many people interested in them as the
SL55s.
But I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say 17 grand. I really don't know. And send it off to Mental. He knows more about this era of Benz than I certainly do.
I think the only thing that's going to hurt this car is the perception, because the 500s are rolling around there and they're a ton of neglected maintenance. You'll see a bunch of these with paper plates here in Las Vegas about a month after tax returns go out, and then you will see them all immediately. My friends call them Icarus cars. They could afford the car, but they couldn't afford the maintenance. And I think what's going to help correct that is the fact that this is an MB enthusiast website. So I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to say it's going to go for $17,550.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. All right.
Chris Carbine, my written apologies in the mail. I can't believe I'm the low man. I thought for sure I was going to be the high man on this. So let's see. Hopefully I am wrong and my partners are right. Wouldn't that make your day, Chris Carbine? All right. So everybody, we encourage you, go over and check out MB Marketplace. Look at Chris Carbine's car. Check out the website if you haven't already been there. And then know that we're hoping to have Blakely, who operates MB Marketplace, on the show with us Sunday evening. And just as a teaser, John, if you hadn't already noticed, the 4 cars that we have teed up for Sunday night, no Porsches, and a really eclectic group of cars. Oh, no Porsches and no cars from Bring a Trailer. We're going to try and go. In the history of the Bid Nerds, I don't know that we've ever done a show where we exclusively did a handful of cars without covering a single car on BAT. So that will be a first. No Porsches and no BAT on Sunday night. So come and check it out and hang out with Mental will not be with us, but we're going to have Blakely on, which will be fun.
All right. Well, there you go. We've just made some predictions. Remember, never listen to us. Never take our advice. We don't know what we're talking about. We are wishing our friend Chris Carbine big time luck on his car. We hope this car goes through the moon and he gets some great results and someone gets a great car. Mental, where can we find your podcast?
Everyone Racers, anywhere you get your podcast. We're on Spotify, all the podcast stuff. We're on the Gram. Occasionally I go to the thing formerly known as Twitter, and you can find us on Facebook at Everyone Racers. And if you're anywhere near Houston this weekend, swing by the Mercedes Sugarland Ranch, or now it's the Motorsport Ranch just outside of Houston, where I will be racing with the Inglorious Bastards in a Ford Ranger and a Miata.
Mental getting around with his racing. All right.
Ford Ranger.
There's a whole theme that we're doing with it. It's going to be hilarious. Follow my Instagram. You should see some great pictures.
Awesome.
And Deeb, how do we find you if we want you to represent a car on Haggerty Marketplace?
Just direct message me on Instagram at BidNerds, and I'll get the message. We will connect, and I will help you to the best of my ability.
Awesome, guys. Also check out Derfascination, our other YouTube channel, as well as The Rami Show. We are always putting new content up there, and we're excited to have some new stuff coming out. Again, shout out to our good friends at God and Porsche and God and Classic of Las Vegas. We love those guys. And, I guess we're going to sign off on this episode, and we'll see you Sunday night with a brand new episode of Live Show Then. That's not grammatically correct. I don't even know what the hell that means.
And before we sign up completely, I do want to say thanks, William. He was walking me through the actual mechanics of this in the chat. So I'm gonna go ahead and say I stand corrected with what he was talking to in that ABC system. So thank you for that one. I know that was out of the blue.
And also thanks to you new guys that are hanging out in the Nerd Herd. We love seeing you guys and your comments. They really help make the show move along, and it's a lot more fun with you guys contributing. It is a pleasure doing the show because of you guys. So thank you for watching with us live. That is so rad. So shout out. There's too many people to name all at once. So love you guys. Thank you for hanging out. See you guys Sunday night. Bye.
Bye.